This is your space to listen, learn, and connect. Talk with Blaq. Your space to express yourself. Delve into meaningful conversations. Talk with Blaq.
What's this about me not letting you see your kid? It's true. You block me anytime I want to take her.
Well, we had no idea Daddy was so interested, so she can stay with Daddy tonight.
You don't understand. It's hot as hell at my place. Here you go. I have 2 more in the house if you need. But about the dog. She's gonna miss her dog. No problem. Take him for the night. All the things that I would need for her are way up in my kitchen. I can't reach up that high. Oh, no problem. I don't even have milk at my house. Half a gallon of milk right here, baby. No cereal either. Here you go. I have some more if you need. I don't have a car right now. I can't just drive her to my place and drop her back off. Borrow mine for the day. What if the car breaks down on my way there? Just borrow my bike for the night. No biggie. Listen, my headache is going to get in the way of me being able to actually take care of her. All right, so it says to take the whole bottle in one sitting and tell Lucifer we said hi. Goodbye.
Yeah, I just stopped by to try to see her. She used every excuse in the fucking book to not let me take her.
Well, gentlemen, you sent me a video last week, and that's the video you sent me of a father getting out of trying to spend time with his daughter. And he, as you saw, he gave every single excuse in the book not to spend time with his daughter. Now, guys, what do you think? What made you send me that video?
You know, most of the times, fathers will come and say they want to be with their children, but the mothers are blocking them, while else, at some level, they've got excuses when they're supposed to play their role as fathers. Okay. So that's why I sent you that video. I mean, you saw the excuse. The lady even offered the car, but it was like, what if the car breaks? So
I like the bike part.
You know what I mean? So they'll do anything to come with the excuse to play their part.
Okay, Gary, as our guest, what do you think?
What a pile of anal leeching. I mean, like, seriously, that is, I get that it's a parody, but these, if you inverse that, that is what 92% of fathers experience on a daily basis trying to get access to their children. I get that it's a parody, but it couldn't be further from the truth.
Biggie.
Yes, indeed, Blaq. I think it's a true reflection of the state of affairs in our country, in as far as father to mother are concerned. In fact, as Gary just alluded to that, I guess it's a huge challenge in South Africa, where most men are being denied access, if not deprived. Actually, including the law itself of the country. In fact, the constitution of the country, it's in favor of the other party. For a man to win this battle, actually, he has to actually go through a number or make huge inroads, including, in fact, doing litigations, going to the courts and so forth. As I just said, it's a true reflection of our state of affairs in as far as these circumstances are concerned in South Africa.
I guess that's our show today. The rights of fathers in South Africa. And looking at that video, I'd say, as Gary put it, it is actually the opposite. And we know that when we separate the children from their fathers, a lot of things go wrong. We know that when we, deny the fathers, some of us fight, and some fathers, they just give up. So what I know is that there's a problem. And how we sort out the problem is what we're going to be doing tonight. We're going to be talking about where the loopholes are and how we as fathers can get around these things. Is that okay, gentlemen?
Cool.
Well, as usual, I don't walk by myself. I walk with my brothers. Jimmy.
Yes, sir.
Are you ready to talk about men?
Yeah, no, let's talk to the brothers and talk about men,
And you're ready to defend our rights as fathers?
Definitely.
Okay. Biggie.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, Blaq.
Yes, sir.
Looking forward to the enlightenment of brothers out there.
You are looking to enlighten brothers?
Yes.
Have you got some pearls of wisdom for us as the resident big brother?
Indeed.
Okay. And last but not least, Gary D Silva.
Thanks very much, Blaq. Thanks for having me on the show. It's a great privilege.
You represent NGO Fathers
for Justice, South Africa. We campaign for the rights of the child in the absence of violence, abuse, or neglect, to have an equal relationship with both parents on a daily basis, irrespective of whether they're married or not. We advocate for mediation as the adult manner or the adult way to resolve your differences. And we have a full-blown mediation and litigation department that operates on a national basis. Everything is done because we've got to keep costs low. Everything is done via video conferencing, email, WhatsApp, and so on. And we are doing cases from Kuruman to Richards Bay to Phalaborwa to Cape Town. So, and we are having fantastic results.
Sounds like you guys are doing a lot.
Yeah.
What has been your opinion on the rights of fathers, of unmarried fathers and married fathers, the differentiate between the two when you've gone into your workspace?
Okay, so and I've been doing this work for 20 odd years now. My direct experience is that there's no difference between the way married men or fathers and unmarried fathers are treated by a highly gynocentric, misandrous environment, legal justice system, who go out of their way to obliterate fathers' rights and responsibilities. If you have a look in the main, are women prejudiced or are mothers prejudiced? Absolutely they are from a maintenance or financial point of view. And fathers are prejudiced around contact care, guardianship and maintenance, or taking up their rights and responsibilities towards their children. And if you want, I can go through statistics if you want.
Let's go for it.
Okay. So if you have a look at from the top, 40% of mothers have, and all of these statistics are out on our LinkedIn and various pages, so you can go and verify it. 40% of mothers say that they have actively interfered in the relationship between the father and the child. 50% of mothers see no value of the continued relationship of the father with the child post-divorce or separation. Okay, these figures are borne out by independent research that we did some years ago, where 50% of fathers describe themselves in South Africa as completely alienated from their children. 24%, an additional 24% of the fathers out there describe themselves as partially alienated. It also is in alignment with statistics that we've got out of government departments that says that 52% of all protection orders issued in South Africa are based on false, fake, or non-existent evidence. And we are led to believe that that figure is exceptionally higher than the 52% that was reported. And the other thing is that 92% of children are automatically awarded to the mother. So yes, are there deadbeats dads out there? Absolutely, 100% there are. Well, let's not deny the facts here.
We're not denying that.
Okay, but between 6 and 7% of fathers can be genuinely described as deadbeat fathers. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and I'm out of here. Okay? So, and the other thing that I'd like to point out is that, so we have all of these what I would call soft issues that impede the father's relationship with the child. But then you also have a huge hassle in South Africa. Take a look at the unemployment rate of our youth. So we're talking about kids that have now completed matric. 42%, between 42 and 50% of our children that started out school don't make it to matric, so they're unemployable. That sits in line with the massive economic situation that has been brought on by failed communist policies that have set out to destroy South Africa.
Okay. Let's not do the whole show in one take. Wow, but listening to you, Gary, it means we're in a whole lot of heap of trouble.
We're in a huge heap of doo-doo. Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, gentlemen, what's your opinion, Jimmy?
Yeah,
listening to what Gary has said.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, Gary, you're right. And I can, I also saw a statistics that says 90% of men are the ones that default when they're supposed to pay child maintenance. You know what I mean? So I think the question that we should ask at times is that, do they really want to be there? Do they want to be there financially or emotionally? Because in my opinion, the child needs both. You know what I mean?
But then why are they defaulting? Have you checked that part?
Could be a lot of reasons. Maybe lost a job or.
So there are valid reasons why they.
Yeah, they're pretty
valid reasons.
I can answer that for you.
Okay, Gary. Hit us.
Okay, so the bottom line is that we've got a failed economic situation in South Africa. We're talking about statistics where, and it's divided up into two sets of groups. Those that have still seeking work, that are unemployed, sits at about 35% of the population, the working age population in South Africa. Mm-hmm. But we are led to believe that figure of people that have actually stopped looking for work because there's just, the economy is so obliterated, you're sitting at 60%.
Is that the expanded definition of unemployment? Because those are two different stats.
Those are two different stats. So you're talking about 32% of people that are still looking for work but unemployed, and then you add on top of that people that have given up looking for work because they can't find work. So that's sitting at around about 60% of the population of South Africa.
And the hustlers were
sorry if I can. The other thing is that you're also dealing with migrant work. You're talking about migrant workers. So fathers moving around looking for work. So they're migrant, they are seasonal, and they are, opportunistic employment.
These are the hustlers.
These are the hustlers looking for work, okay? So you've got all of these statistics, you've got all of these stats that says these are why fathers are not partaking in their children's lives, okay? And so the odds are so against us. I'm not saying for 1 second that a father shouldn't be taking responsibility from a financial point of view, and I'm agreeing with you that that fathers should be there from an emotional and physical point of view, 100%. In order to raise a child into a fully functional adult, it needs both parents.
Yep. Biggie, bite.
Yeah, well, Blaq, I'm glad that Gary, as a reputable individual, as a guest here, and coming from a very reputable institution, yes, as he has mentioned, actually, what he mentioned actually is factual based on that. But sitting here, I'm having questions in my mind as to looking at the legal framework in our country. Mm-hmm. What is the legal leg or the legal standing in as far as fathers who are becoming victims in this whole web? Mm-hmm. What is actually their their legal frame? Basically, so it's a question for me. I'm asking as to what is the legal actually standing in as far as this is concerned, because the statistics that Gary actually mentioned are quite startling in our country as far as that is concerned. And basically, as men, where can we go? Where can we run to? I've recently came across an article a few months ago of a woman actually who somehow decided, I don't know if she decided or what, to violate 2 court orders that were issued against her, to allow the other spouse to have access to the child. And that lady, as we speak right now, she's serving 15 years in prison for violating those 2 court orders. She was actually sentenced at the Pretoria High Court a few weeks ago. So don't we think perhaps going forward, these are some of the things that, Gary, we need to teach men out there, because it looks like many of us are quite ignorant in as far as our rights are concerned as men. But I'm speaking from the point of ignorance. Perhaps maybe somebody can assist here.
But you see, according to the law, we have equal rights to the child. As you stated, the problem is we've been ignorant to what are these rights. And I think Gary can elaborate more further, to where we're missing these rights.
So, the thing around ignorance is, that when I separated from the mother of my eldest daughter, at the time, there was still the Fathers Out of Wedlock Act, and this, the new Children's Act of 2005 was still in the process of being promulgated. And my lawyer at the time said to me, go and read both. And I read both of those documents. And very simply put, Mommy had rights and responsibilities, Daddy had rights and responsibilities, and the child had rights, okay? And I thought, okay, well, that's fantastic. We're just going to court and we're just going to quickly write this down and everybody's going to be happy. Couldn't be further from the truth. Just because it's written doesn't make it so.
Who's benefiting from this?
The lawyers, the advocates, the psychologists, the social welfare workers are benefiting from this. If you take a look at it, that between On average, there is between 23 and 29,000 divorces. We're not talking about unmarried cases. So there's between 23 and 29,000 divorces on average per annum. And that averages out somewhere between 7.5 and 15 billion rand a year industry. It's not within the interests of the child abusing divorce industry that comprises of lawyers, advocates, psychologists, social welfare workers to settle your settlement. Okay. The other thing that you wanted to know from a legal standpoint of view, so section 19 of the Children's Act says to us that a married woman or a biological mother automatically assumes rights and responsibilities towards the child. Section 20 says to us a married man assumes same or similar rights of that of a married woman or a biological mother. Okay. Section 21 is around single fathers, and Section 21A says to us that if the mother identifies you as the father of the child, 21B if you choose to be identified as the father of the child, 21C says if you pay or attempt to pay maintenance, and 21D, which we have pointed out to the Department of Social Development, is unconstitutional, and we've also pointed out that sections 19, 20, 21 are gender biased and unconstitutional, and that was the Center for Gender Equality actually came back and they agreed with us that section 20 and 21 are indeed unconstitutional. And there was also a High Court ruling. I can't give you the exact act for the Divorce Act, the exact clause for the Divorce Act, but the Constitutional Court found that section 40 of the Children's Act was indeed unconstitutional. So we're dealing with an unconstitutional act. And it was section 21D says to us an unmarried father that pays damages or under customary law. Now, if you have a look at that, that's unconstitutional. It doesn't apply to me. It doesn't apply to colored or Indian fathers. And you, as a black father, if you do not see yourself continuing the tradition or the culture, then it's unconstitutional to them as well.
You have no rights to your child.
Yeah, you have no rights to your child. And the problem that I find that we sit with is that whether I'm talking to a Xhosa guy or a Zulu guy or whatever the case may be, the confusion, and I've got a couple of questions around this is because I can't get a straight answer. If you talk to one Xhosa guy, he says, no, the child must go to the maternal grandparents. You talk to the next Xhosa guy, no, it must go to the paternal grandparents. My first question is, why is it going to the grandparents in the first place? And the second thing is that the second thing is that you are paying damages to the maternal grandfather. It has nothing to do with maintaining the child. So why are we doing that?
Okay. Now we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Now that we know what the problems are, so now we're going to need to look at what our experience. You probably have experience. I have experiences, and I have feelings about this whole thing. So we need to unpack what are those. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think we need to find solutions because that's the only way we're going to move forward between the mother and the father.
Okay. Hold that thought. Gary, you mentioned something, and I think I cut you off a little bit too short.
No worries.
Now, the differences between the two systems, Roman Dutch law and the traditional law. And you mentioned that these two are at loggerheads. Correct. I think I cut you off with just a tad bit, before you finished your thought there. Elaborate for me. What are these differences between these two systems?
Okay, Blaq, like you pointed out, they're contradictory.
Yes.
We've got to go with one. Okay, so either we say to all fathers in South Africa that they must pay damages under customary law, or no father must pay, because it's unconstitutional, because I'm segmenting single black fathers out, okay, and I'm forcing an additional legal and financial responsibility on them that other cultures do not have to abide by, okay?
Yeah.
And because there is confusion around who does what when, I think I'm not saying that we have to stop culture, a tradition, but one has got to give for the other. Okay. And because the law covers the whole country and everybody in it, I'm saying from my point of view, and I'm open to suggestion here, is that it's wrong. You cannot insist that damages is paid under customary law. Okay, so you might have a different point of view on the matter.
I was about to come in there because you also mentioned that you've spoken to a lot of men, and many of these men have got many different definitions of these things.
Yeah.
What are these definitions? And I'll come in as a closer speaker also. And I'm sure that my brothers have also got their experiences, Jimmy being married and Chris and I are both not married. So what's been your experience?
Okay, so my experience of this is that if I speak to a Xhosa guy, one will say to me, no, the child needs to go to the maternal grandparents.
Okay.
And the other one, you speak to the next Xhosa Oak, no, it needs to go to the maternal grandparents. The first question I have is, why is it going to why is the child going to the grandparents in the first instance? I'm not talking about interfering in a relationship between grandchild and grandparents. I'm saying, is it not the responsibility of the parents to be raising that child? That's the first question I've got. The second question is that in many instances that I deal with, and this is what I deal with, so this is my experience, is that the vast majority of these guys come in and they say, no, they were supposed to pay 10,000 Rand or buy a car or whatever the case may be for damages, okay?
I can't carry.
I've had it, but you wait, you'll hear some, I can tell you now, I'm dealing with a case now. The son is 32 years old. Mommy's fallen on hard times, and now she's claiming 14 years worth of maintenance back pay. So I hear the stories. So the thing is that the vast majority of guys that I talk to come in and there's no documentation. There's no contract that says JJ needs to pay 10 grand.
Now talking contracts.
Okay. And the guy can come and say to us, I say to him, give me your bank statements, and there it is. I paid the family 10 grand, and there's the payments. So he can prove that no, it's not 10 grand, it's 100 grand.
Okay, let me talk to contracts.
Okay, sure.
The African contracts, in my experience, are born from the responsibility of the family.
Okay.
Or my responsibility to your family for messing up your kid.
Okay.
Now, I have done damage to your family by impregnating your daughter.
Yeah.
Now I must atone for that.
Correct.
That's the first one.
Correct.
The second one is you just mentioned now, as a Xhosa speaker, now I have to pay isondlo.
Yeah.
Which is now I have to compensate you for feeding my child for these many years.
Yeah.
And then there's the third cow. This third cow, this is the one that now I'm now escorting my child to my home, because now you have been taking care of my child. And that's the contractual between us as blacks. Yes, it might not be written down. There might not be any words that are written down, but this is what we know as black people. Now, before I come back to you to wrap this up.
Sure.
Jimmy, you're not married.
I am married.
Oh, sorry, you are married. Yeah. And he mentioned that married people have different relations with their children according to the law, both legally and African. So now, what has been your experience in this one?
Well, on my side, I never had to pay any damages, Gary. So I only paid lobola.
Okay.
Like you were talking about contractual stuff, obviously the two families come together, they write down, they sign everything, both parties, and that money will be drawn back when we're doing maybe the big wedding between me and my partner. So it's unlike what you were saying earlier on, that they will pay damages, that money will go to the grandfather, and then it's not even going to the child. So in this case of mine, the money will still come back to assist with the wedding, and then moving forward, maybe we've got a home, buy a couple of things, because that's what families do. From the mother side, they'll buy a bed for me and my partner, like things to start up a home so that you can be comfortable with their daughter. Okay. So that's my job on my side.
Okay. Now, Biggie.
Yeah, I guess
you are not married, right? And you're going to give me an opinion.
I'm divorced, eh?
Oh, you're divorced. Welcome to the club. Now you're gonna give me your take on what is commonly done in the locations, because we're all city slickers here. Let's not fool ourselves. We hardly ever go to the rural areas. So what's your take on this one?
Yeah, I think Blaq with colleagues, I think the practice varies from one tradition to the other. Although I cannot holistically speak on behalf of entire townships.
No, but
in my context, what I did with my 2 kids, out of which actually were conceived out of wedlock, was that I had to pay damages. And fortunately at that time, in fact, the 2 families never saw that as a money generating practice or scheme or to enrich themselves. I think the damage wasn't quite substantial as it's happening today, because it looks like this practice is now being commercialized.
Yeah, there's cars now.
Taking into account that maybe unemployment is high, etc., etc. But in my case, it wasn't as dire as it is today, because I've had gory stories. I remember one of my nephews, in fact, we were supposed to have paid damages of about, actually he had 10,000 rands with him. But unfortunately, when we got there, the father and the uncle of the daughter, we were told that it will come in a region of about 60 to 80,000 damage.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. We had to ask actually how they came
to that.
Because as you all know, in Black communities, we question a number of things about a woman. As to what are her credentials. Her credentials are brought into question here.
Did they tell you about the matric and,
That's what I'm talking about.
University.
That's what I'm talking about.
Guys,
before I wrap it, before, let me wrap it up. Only to learn that there was, as Gary was saying, there was a car which was stationary in the yard that needs attention. So apparently the money was going to be taken and be utilized to fix the car. So
okay, guys, we're going to have a part 2 of this one day, and I promise you I'll give you your space. Now, Gary, give us the legal juggalese, because it looks like the rabbit hole is going even deeper here.
It is massive. It needs to be documented so that it falls in line with the Constitution and the Children and the Divorces Act, okay? Or it needs to be excluded from the legal practices, because we are talking about a 70% fatherless rate, where Black fathers, unfortunately, suffer from this the most. And the problem is the contact of the child is denied to the father until this is all wrapped up. And that takes years. And now we want to say, oh no, but look at all these bad fathers, because there's not one standard practice. And I think, and who is suffering here? The child is suffering here. And in the interest of the child, I think we as the adults need to clear this up. I don't have the solution. I see a problem because I experience the problem on a daily basis. Okay? And we need to find a solution that works. And in the words of the Children's Act, the best interest of the child.
Now with you want to throw in something there?
You know what? I lost my train of thought, but Gary, I think I agree with you. I think if both parents can take out their personal issues that they have with each other, the child won't suffer.
Correct.
Because most of the time when I speak to people, randomly when we meet, when they speak of the father, like he won't see his child because he wants to go and show off the child as if he's paying, he's buying the clothes, he's doing all those kind of things. So I think, parents should all find a balance, even though we hate each other, but let's find the balance.
The best interest of the child.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, with all that said, Gary, promise me one thing.
I'll keep it short.
You're going to write a book, all right? And you're going to tell these sisters that we're not all bad.
We're not.
Because the word in town is that we are trash.
Correct.
And I refuse to believe that we are trash, because I've been there for my 4 kids.
Correct.
And I'm sure these brothers here have also been, and I know you have been, because we've had a lot of conversations about this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, gentlemen, now we're going to talk about the impacts, but let's go drink some water and then let's talk about this.
Okay.
All right. Okay. We've said a lot. and we've gone left, we've gone right, we've gone south. At policy level, what must be done to put us as fathers in the game? Because right now, we're not in the game.
Okay, so what needs to happen is Section 19/2021 needs to be removed, and it needs to be rolled up into Section 18 of the Children's Act, and it must stipulate that irrelevant of the marital status of the parents, cultural tradition, religion, and other social norms and practices, and excluding violence, abuse, or neglect, the child must have automatic 50-50 contact care, guardianship, and maintenance with by and of both biological parents at all times. We are saying that to draw up the parenting plan should not take longer than 90 days to be signed, to be signed off by the Family Advocate's Office, and to be endorsed by the Family Advocate's Office, and to be signed off by the courts 90 days. We're saying that mediation must be mandatory. Now, all the people are going to jump up, you can't make mediation mandatory, so alternative dispute resolution is an alternative term for it. Bearing in mind that 50-50 contact care, guardianship, and maintenance is automatic. So what am I discussing? I'm discussing finances, which is the maintenance, and I'm discussing the schedule, which is the contact. And it must be mediated, failing which, if mediation fails, it must automatically default to arbitration, which is final and binding on both parties. The other thing that needs to be made, that needs to be brought in somehow into the Children's Act, that any parent that makes false allegations against the other parent must automatically, along with their legal advisors,
Locked up.
They must be charged for perjury, which carries a fine or a 5 to 10 year prison sentence. And I'm saying it must be automatic and mandatory, because you will stop 99% of this nonsense automatically, because I can tell you now, lawyers do advise their female clients to go out and make false allegations. By the time daddy's wiped the you-know-what out of his eyes, 2 years are down the line, and guess what? The pet psychologist of mommy's lawyer is now saying, daddy didn't bother to maintain contact with the child. Daddy must now pay for a reintroduction and a reunification therapy. The other thing that needs to be made automatic and mandatory, any parent that engages in parental alienation syndrome, which is the emotional, psychological, sexual, physical abuse of a child, along with his or her legal team, must automatically be charged and prosecuted with child abuse, and the child must be placed in the other parent's care.
There's a lot.
Okay.
There's a whole lot, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
It's a rabbit hole. Guys,
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Gary. 100%. Like, a child should come first.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you.
Yeah, that resonates to the saying that whenever two bulls or elephants are fighting, whatever suffers the most is the grass.
ground, yeah.
In this sense, obviously,
Yes, the child.
kids,
since
they
we're talking
suffer
about the
most.
grass, we're moving on to the next section, which is basically what are the impacts on the grass, the child. So we're going to discuss that. And then hopefully we'll come up with some nice ways and solutions on how we can sort this out. Eh?
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay. We have looked at a lot of things today. We've looked at the child and the rights of their father. We've looked at how this has affected men. All right. We looked at tradition. We've looked at many things,
Including policy.
Yeah, we've also looked at the policy. Yeah.
Policy.
So now, what I want to find out first, before we move on to because this next question talks to the financial aspect of it. Is there a way out for a man who does not want to be part of this child's life? Let's say for some reason, the guy feels, you know what, I was done wrong and I don't need to have this child. Is there a way out? Because we know that having a child is a lifetime financial burden or responsibility. Is there a way out?
He can just abscond from his rights and responsibilities.
Legally, that is.
No, not legally. Well, look, he can apply to the courts to have his rights and responsibilities removed.
Okay.
The mother can also apply to have his rights and responsibilities removed, but compelling reasons have to be given. You can't just, the thing about this is it's like playing a game. If one side doesn't want to play, they don't have to. Okay, you can take them to court 100 times. They don't have to comply, and that's our issue with this. Okay. The other thing is that if a father does say, I don't want to be legally responsible for this child any longer and have a relationship with him. The other thing is that he might still be compelled by the courts to continue paying maintenance. Okay. The other thing is that the vast majority of fathers, that when they come to the end of their road, and these are fathers that have spent millions of rands, they've spent 8, 9, 10 years in the system, and they eventually get to the point and say, I need a life as well.
Yes.
I have fought, I have lost, and unfortunately what we do is we take them through a process of mourning the loss of their living children because they have been so obliterated by the legal justice system.
And we know the legal system costs money. So what are the financial responsibilities, gentlemen?
Yeah.
What are you as a man financially responsible for? And how far does your buck go? Do I get 50% responsibility? Or is it 100% your responsibility to feed, fend, and all the stuff? What are your responsibilities for this child?
I mean, responsibilities can be shared. If the mother of the child is staying with the child, I know for a fact that, from...
Khalil.
Come on. I mean, there's emotional support that the mother has to give to the child. The child will be asking, where is daddy? Where is that? You know what? The guys, I think guys sometimes, also, don't put enough effort, You can't just send $500 and think it's going to...
You're not going to let him go and get away with this.
No.
You're not gonna let him
knows. He is from the hood. He knows what the guys will just send $500 and say, you know what?
500.
They will see. No child can be raised by $500, but
the government gives him $350, so I'm giving more than the government.
We're talking about the guy who's working here, who's flashing, but when it comes to his child, he doesn't want to flash.
No, then he's an idiot.
I mean, there's thousands of idiots, believe me.
Okay, but now the thing is that the thing here is, the issue is if the guy is flashing, if he's driving around in a BMW and going to all his friends asking...
Polo, that's the
Polo, sorry.
Please leave us out. Leave us out of this one.
Okay.
Leave us out.
Okay, sorry. If he's driving a Polo, but yet he's going around to all his buddies asking for 10 Rand petrol, he's an idiot. Sell the car and rather take care of the child. But the vast majority of fathers, guess what? They're giving the $500 because that's all they've got. Okay, and we need to, and this is the responsibility of men. We as men have now got to go out and talk to these little boys and say to them, grow up. Okay, because they've got to start taking responsibility. You can't go through life jolling. Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
How old is this person that's jolling?
No. I think Gary is right.
But because I can tell you now, I never had the conversations that I'm now having with you guys. Is that I never had those conversations when I was 20. I wish to God that I had these conversations when I was 20 years old.
That's my next question.
But Jimmy,
okay, go ahead.
Jimmy's statement. When he says 500 is too little for a child. That's a threshold that is being set by the courts. These guys, they don't decide of their own volition.
No, hear me out.
They want to pay 500.
All I'm saying is that a guy who is fully capable, driving around with a Polo like Gary, going to the nightclubs, partying, buying expensive
Jimmy, hold on.
Wait.
Let me get to this.
Okay, cool.
That Polo will affect the mentality, the mental aspect of the child, right?
Yeah, because it's a Polo.
What? What are the
child will get mentally affected by a beer, man?
Physically, mentally, I'm like absent fathers. What does it do to a child?
First of all,
it has a huge impact.
Okay, so I mean, like, so for instance, drug and alcohol abuse would be the first thing that happens with a child that is raised up in a single home. A mother's financial position, if she's a single mother without the support of a father, economic standing can decrease by 40%. Okay, the likelihood of the child completing school, the likelihood of a girl child falling pregnant, underage teenage pregnancy. We've got all this underage teenage pregnancies. Like, where did it fall out of? I mean, the government and the feminists have deliberately removed fathers out of the child's lives. They've taken the responsibility of men, being raised by men, away from them.
Hoorah.
Okay, so that's the other thing is, and the girl children, what do? They go out and look for the father that they'd never had. What are they doing? They're ending up on OnlyFans. Okay?
Bless us.
Okay.
No, but I mean, like, it's wrong. And here's the thing is, a woman from a biological point of view can only pair bond with a maximum of 2 men in her life. We're talking, the feminists are saying that women must go out and whore around out there.
Whoa.
Okay, like they must be like men. They must act like men. Feminism has been the best thing for men because we can have free, unconsequential sex with women with no responsibility. But then everybody wants to shout, "Oh no, it's the men's fault." Yes, we bought into the nonsense. So what I'm saying to you is that a woman can only naturally pair bond with 2 men in her life. Okay, and so by the time she hits her 5th sexual partner, the likelihood of her relationship succeeding is 50%. By 8, it is 75%.
Okay, let's wrap it up. What's the boy responsibility?
Boys need to start taking responsibility for their own sexuality. They need to concentrate. They need to be either wearing a condom and or going for a vasectomy, going and doing a deposit by the sperm bank and doing a vasectomy. Men have to take control of their own sexuality and their reproductive ability. Okay, and they have to do it. Because the emotional and psychological consequences, you have no idea of the mental and psychological pain that you will go through once you've had a child and you lose that child to the system.
Okay, gentlemen, we've had a lot.
They should just abstain.
Hold on, Jimmy. Hold on, Jimmy. I know we've spoken a lot, and I know it's getting hotter right now, but the time runs out, and we need to wrap this up. What are your final thoughts on this? And then we go to Gary, and then you can tell us what does your organization give us, and you can give us your socials and so on. So, guys, give us your last minutes.
My final thought is basically saying we should take more responsibility as men. It's not a one-way street.
Correct.
However, it's a two-way street. So we should take responsibility. Don't go and start producing children if you're not ready to support them and maintain them, because we see horrible things out there. So that would be my final take.
All right, Big.
Yeah, well, from my point is that I like the balance that has been struck here in this conversation.
Okay.
This was not a bashing intended conversation, bashing either of the genders, but it was quite balanced.
Yeah.
And especially now that we're mentioning that as men, we need to take responsibility as well, because this speaks to the conversation we had previously, that actually we are creating the prevalence of slave queens, directly or indirect.
All right. And my final thought is, where does the woman's responsibility start and end? Because if it's always our responsibility, when does the other team take their responsibility? Gary, give us your socials and your last words.
My last words is that men absolutely need to start taking control of their own biological functions, They need to focus on creating themselves as high-value men. They need to go and at least get some form of qualification. I don't care what it is, some form of law or psychology or something like that. They need to focus on things that will allow them to work when they're out of work. By that I mean, go and study, become an electrician, a plumber, a welder, a cabinet maker, so that even if they fall on hard times, they can use their God-given gifts. They need to focus on themselves to be a high-value men so that they can attract high-value women. With regards to contacting us, it's www.f4, so the numeral 4, j.co.za. I can give all my details to you guys so that you can post it out there. We are on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. What else is there? LinkedIn, Instagram. So we are out there. We do provide both mediation and litigation services across the country. Unfortunately, because we are not funded, because we are ostensibly a males' rights group, we unfortunately do charge for those services. I am trying to get people to pay 159 Rand membership fee a month, which will allow us to go and have conversations like this out in the community, as well as if we could get 1,000 fathers, bearing in mind there's over 9 million of us. If we could get 1,000 fathers to pay 159 Rand a month, I could go on a national tour around the country into every location possible out there, as well as we could end up at least assisting 1 or 2 dads on a pro bono basis.
That's a mouthful, and it's sad that corporate is missing in action, government is missing in action, because when all these other rights groups speak, everybody rushes with buckets of money. But when men need, nobody comes up to the party. Man. But we are here now.
That's correct. Yeah.
And we hope that we're going to change some few minds at corporate level. All right?
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
No, we'll help. We'll help. Jimmy?
And the sad part is men finding those things, by the way. Anyways, thank you for watching, guys. You can follow us on our socials. Talk with Blaq on Instagram, Talk with Blaq on Twitter, Talk with Blaq on TikTok, and our Facebook page as well. And then feel free to leave the comment down below, and then follow us, like the page, and then we'll bring you more content. Thank you.
Biggie.
Yeah, well, with that being said, I think coming to your words, it's important that movements of this nature needs to be supported.
We need to support it.
We all know that there's government projects against GBV in our country. So why the same efforts and energy be redirected to the same cause?
Thank you.
Big up yourself,
Thank you.
Biggie. All right. It was another session of Talk with Blaq. Je m'appelle Blaq.